Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Real Podcasters. This is a weekly podcast that we do where we discuss all things movies, TV shows, video games, and a bunch of other things in no particular order. My name's Regan, as ever, and I'm joined once again by my intrepid explorer co-host. It's Dan.
Intrepid explorer co-host. Mate, the most I explore...
Both of those are a lie.
Yeah, I was going to say the most I explore is when I go to a gig. That's about it.
Which you're doing in a couple of hours, so it's fine.
Yeah, a couple of hours again. I'm going to be really wrecked by Monday.
You really are. I feel like, yeah. Well, this episode can be the calm before the storm, I suppose. So last week we spoke about the ups and downs of 2023. If you did see that, thank you very much. And also thank you to the people that have thrown a load more views at the Scarborough Comic-Con special that we did. That's currently very, very close to being the number one episode that we've done. Annoyingly, that was 2 months ago. But thanks for the support anyway. If you're not subscribed, obviously do that. Please.
Please.
Please, for the love of God. So last week we spoke about the ups and downs of 2023, and this week we are delving into one of the greatest movies of all time.
Is it though?
Apparently. For most people. Not to me, but we'll get there. We are...
Oh no, here we go.
It's not going to be a hot take, it's fine. I think. I don't know, is it? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so we are going to be taking a look at the original Indiana Jones trilogy over the next couple of weeks. So obviously we're kicking things off with Raiders of the Lost Snow. I did the joke first, so Dan can't do it. In reality, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. And now he's looking annoyed. Is it because you were hoping to just quickly chime in with that joke, Dan?
Maybe.
I figured, yeah. So we did talk about the Dial of Destiny last year.
The Dial of Why?
Why of Destiny, with Archimedes' alarm clock, and just...
Yeah, you can listen to our thoughts on that. Because again, Reagan's going to put a link in the description.
He is. He'll even have a dedicated Indiana Jones playlist. Because he hasn't got that already, because we haven't spoken about it more than once yet.
No, I think, it's funny the fact that we're only covering the original trilogy now, but we covered, possibly the second worst, maybe the worst Indiana Jones film ever.
It is the worst.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
that
is true. I mean, it kind of makes Kingdom of the Crystal Turd look like a masterpiece. Well,
funnily enough, we are kicking things off with, I'm going to call the middle child of all 5 movies. Ooh. In terms of my history with this movie, I actually forgot when I was writing down, when was the first time I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark? And it'll have been when I got the original trilogy box sets on DVD. It'll have to have been at least 15 years ago, because I can remember each film had the exact same trailer for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull on the front, which is a fantastic trailer. Absolutely love that trailer. I think I might have referenced it in the top 5 film trailers thing we did last year. All of a sudden it feels like it's been more recent that I've actually seen Raiders. I did watch it a lot, don't get me wrong, but at the same time I don't think I rewatched this one nearly as much as the other two, which we'll get into later. For me, I don't know what it is about Raiders that really makes me think it's the weakest of the 3, which again, I'm saying weakest of the 3. It's still a great film, all 3 of them are, but one of them has to be at the bottom. And I think for a lot of people who would probably have been Temple of Doom, to be honest, I much appreciate the darker tone of the sequel. Well, prequel, actually, we should say, because it's set a year before, which went over my head for about a decade. Because, I'm an idiot. But yeah, as I say, of the 3, it's probably the weakest one. What about you, though? What's your history with this one?
Well, again, much like yourself, just trying to kind of pinpoint when I watched it. I can't put a date on it, so I'm just going to say as a kid. That's the easiest thing to do. It's until I rewatch the entire trilogy, I can't pinpoint where I'd put this in terms of which one I like the best. However, Raiders is probably the most rewatched one of the trilogy throughout my existence.
I honestly thought you were going to say youth as opposed to existence.
Well, existence.
Which amounts to basically the same thing.
I think the last time I rewatched it was a couple of years ago. So a recent rewatch would be quite nice to do, but I kind of just want to watch the trilogy in one go. So I'm just going to set aside a day and just watch all 3 Indiana Jones films in one day, because why not? I couldn't say about Temple of Doom, and I couldn't say about Last Crusade, because, again, I haven't watched them as much as Raiders, but I feel like Temple of Doom is probably the second most rewatched, because I do really like Temple of Doom, because it's a lot more horror-esque. I think it's very
I figured
dark.
I figured that one would certainly be your preference.
Yeah. Again, I'm just going to have to rewatch them just to kind of think, okay, yeah, I actually like this one the most, and this one is the weaker one, even though I really like it.
Yeah, it's just got a feel. I mean, Raiders has got like a very unique feel to it. It's like really visceral, really dirty. To be honest, like everyone just looks like they are just ready to run.
Yeah.
But I love that actually. Like it feels very real. Like it feels very lived in. If anything, it feels very Star Wars, which kind of makes sense, I suppose, because this film probably wouldn't have existed without Star Wars. It's the same as a lot of movies like post 1977. They owe a lot to Star Wars, whether it be just purely ripping it off or just having like having like a gritty feel to it. Not to say that the original Star Wars is gritty, because it's not. It's silly. Like it is really, really silly. But it's got a lived-in feel to it, and that very much echoes a lot of Raiders, and the other two as well. But then when you've got something like Temple, which is really dark, and then you've got Last Crusade, I'm trying to only briefly talk about those, because we will go into them in a couple of episodes' time. But I just have to reiterate that this one still has a really good feel to it, despite it being the weakest of the three. Obviously, you've got Harrison Ford, little-known actor. He's done like a couple of things.
Oh, yeah, not like a massive actor,
No, he's certainly not one of the highest paid, most celebrated actors, full stop, to be honest. What I find is really funny about that is that there's absolutely zero ego to that. He just doesn't care.
It's funny the fact that I know him more for Indiana Jones than I do for Star Wars, because I actually watched Indiana Jones well before I watched the original Star Wars trilogy.
I feel like I was probably the other way around. I'm pretty sure I would have seen Star Wars first. You can blame my dad on that one. Yeah, to be honest, you do get the sense he cares more about Indiana Jones as a character more than Han Solo.
Oh yeah, I mean, I much prefer the character of Indiana Jones compared to Han Solo. Han Solo is just an ass, in all honesty.
I mean, in fairness, Jones is as well.
Yeah, but I mean,
decidedly more likable, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think, it's one of those things that, despite the fact that we have seen other people portray this character, we had River Phoenix in Last Crusade, we had a computer play him in Dial of Destiny for about 20 minutes.
We had a computer play him.
And we're getting Troy Baker voicing him in the video game they're doing at some point this year. We'll probably cover it next year. But Indiana Jones is just one of those characters that's so intrinsically linked to Harrison Ford. Like, it would be really difficult to see someone else play that character.
Well, it takes me back to when I watched I decided to subject myself to the bloody Nightmare on Elm Street remake, where Robert Englund, Robert Englund is always going to be Freddy Krueger, and it's kind of the same with Harrison Ford. You can't just replace an actor of that stature so easily. Like, I think it's more of a childhood thing for me personally, because as I say, I watched the Indiana Jones films well before I got into Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just a thing with childhood, but then again, I think it's just certain actors, you just, like, I don't really need another guy replacing him. Can we just, like, end it here, please?
It was a weird era, I think, as well, because I think any characters that are part of a particular franchise from back then, if you try and do them again now, you either have to bring them back because you can't see anyone else do it.
Yeah, you've got to do it like a legacy sequel kind of thing.
Or you have to
include them in one way or another, even if it's like 5 minutes, like it bloody was in the Y of Destiny, when you had Marion like rock up for about 30 seconds at the end of the film.
Yeah, we'll just ignore that one. We'll try not to constantly trash Dial of Destiny. Just
Don't
we
lie.
will try not to. The try of Destiny. But yeah, even nowadays, you either get them back when they're really, really old and sad and depressed and all that sort of stuff, or you get a computer version of it, which it seems. I suppose you could easily have the argument. We could even do this for like an entire episode at some point when it comes to how to recast, because certain ones don't work. I think my general rule of thumb is that if it's a franchise that's from a different medium, whether it be like comics or whatever, or novels,
Yeah.
absolutely recast. If it's a franchise that exists as a film first, like Indiana Jones or Star Wars, don't recast. If they die, just do something else. Just leave them to have their own legacy. I don't need to tarnish like 40, 50 years on.
Yeah, exactly. It's just some things it works with and some things it doesn't work with, and Indiana Jones is one of those things, and I just hope for that dial's sake that we never ever get another Indiana Jones film, because we don't need one. We really, really don't.
As far as I know, they're not going to do it, and I think considering that one bombed very, very
I was going to say,
badly,
because considering how much it bombed, you've already got a fantastic trilogy anyway. I mean, those other two films are just... It's kind of like, yeah, we don't really know what we're doing anymore.
I mean, Harrison Ford is so intrinsically linked to Indiana Jones, but to be honest, so is Karen Allen as Marion, who's great in this.
Oh, I love Marion, man.
I know you do. Although it's really funny, like I'd completely forgotten like the sort of subplot surrounding them two as characters and how their initial relationship is when she's like 15 or something. And I'm sat there thinking, how older is Harrison Ford compared to Karen Allen? I was actually curious. It's about 10 years. So all of a sudden I'm sat there thinking,
I mean, when you start with Raiders,
now,
you obviously get that scene in this wilderness, just God knows where, and Indiana Jones walks in, and she's just like, Indiana Jones, it's about time you showed up. She becomes she's a right arsehole to him. Like, yeah, these two definitely have a history then.
They do, but it works, and I do really like that, and I really like them two together. Even something as simple. I think
they've got to be my. Wait, I think it's just the best companion pair out of all the trilogy.
I'd say so, but then I am a bit of a sucker for Indy and Elsa. That's also really good, even though she gets
to an extent until you kind of realise who she is.
Yeah, and Indy and Willie. Well, we'll get to that next week.
Yeah, we will.
Don't worry, we are not going to be screaming about it for 2 hours.
I was going to say.
I haven't got like the throat for that. But no, I do really like Indy and Marinette. I do actually really like the fact that like even when they get to Cairo and immediately he thinks that he's killed her. I'm like, she's only been in like so 2 scenes already and you've just knocked her out.
You see the guilt on his face and it's just like, oh my god, is she actually dead?
Mm-hmm. And the sequences
I love the heartfelt reunion that they have, even though it's like in the middle of the desert and she's just tied up. It's like, you're alive? Like, could you not be a little more heartfelt than that, please?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And going back to the whole guilt thing, you can see that on Indy's face when he's talking to Belloc, or as I call him, Bollock, because he's just a bollock. That being said, I don't know who I prefer. I don't know if I prefer Belloc or Toad. I feel like I might prefer Toad just because he's just the slimiest character in cinematic history. He's just constantly giggling and smiling.
I think Toad, yeah. I think Toad is Belloc is bollock. Yeah, basically. Yeah. He's just a bit of a knob. He's just always there when Indiana Jones just finds some treasure. It's like, I'll take that. Hello.
I do love the gag with Toad where when Marion's trying to get Belloc drunk, I nearly called him Bollock again. I've been doing this for years.
See, now it's a case of now we're going to have to try calling him by his proper name and not the one we just gave him.
Yeah, Belloc.
Belloc.
Yeah, it's one of those things like I always hated the character when I used to watch it quite often, but I think it was just because he was just like a really slimy piece of crap.
Oh yeah, he is really. Absolutely he is just the equivalent of one of those snakes in that pit.
Mm-hmm. Basically.
He really is. He's so slimy.
But then again, he still has like some of the best moments in the film, especially with like the stuff in the Well of Souls. That's really effective, especially with all the snakes in the, because it is like a really dark film as well, which I really appreciate. Like we all call out Temple of Doom for being really dark. I'm like, guys, Raiders has like a surprising amount of blood for like a PG-13 film. It's great.
Oh, it does.
Oh, no, sorry, a PG. This is before the PG-13 rating over in America.
Oh wow.
It got away with a lot as a PG. It's great.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, there is an awful amount of blood in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Not that I'm complaining. Like, I love blood.
Oh, I'm certainly not. Well, not because it just works. I mean, like, because the film is so lived in and real anyway, you kind of have to sort of accommodate that side.
Yeah,
of
I
things
mean,
as
you
well.
kind of have to add some realism to it, you know, especially that fight on the airstrip.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that one.
Yeah, you know, a guy gets cut up in a propeller, you can't really, like, not have blood splash all over the place. It kind of does make sense.
Yeah, I mean,
I love
that's
that
such a
scene.
good sequence. It's such a great scene. It works so well, but honestly, I just still laugh at Indy just trying really hard to just punch him, and he just keeps on falling to the ground.
Oh, no.
But then each Indiana Jones film, for the most part, always has him facing off against some big dude in every single one.
Yeah, I mean, with
Such the
this
last
one,
one.
it's the mechanic, and then in Temple of Doom, it's the slave driver. In Last Crusade, I guess you could say the knight until he picks up the sword and
He isn't a big dude, he's just an old dude.
he's just a very old dude.
Yeah. Although, I never actually realised that the actor who plays the sort of like the big thuggy in Temple of Doom is the same actor who plays the guy on the airstrip.
Is it?
Yeah.
Huh.
Talk
Well, actually,
about
that kind of makes
recycling.
sense, actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because there were just no other big dude actors.
No, there was no other big hulking dude who
At
you
the
could have a
time.
fight with.
I think it would have been even funnier if it was always the same dude.
Yeah. It's like, man, this guy's really... He gets cut up by propellers, he gets squished.
It's like, he started out as a thuggy, and now he's a Nazi. What the hell is going to happen next?
What next? It's a very lived-in film, and I think to this day, when I do eventually rewatch it, I'm just going to still enjoy it. I mean, I can't say for certain that I'm going to put it as my favourite. I think it's just going to be impossible, in honesty. Like, it's so tough to say it, because I don't want to say it's weaker, because saying it's weaker makes it sound like it's a terrible film, and it's not. It's the total opposite end of it, because it's so well-liked and well-cherished over these years.
Well, I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's to say it's weaker, I mean, yeah, I totally get, because for one, it does kind of sound like we're trashing it, and we're certainly not. It just comes down to, realistically, it just comes down to which one do I rewatch the most. And for me, it's still Last Crusade. I watch that one constantly. And
Yeah.
one could easily say, oh, it just feels like it's just Raiders again. I'm like, yeah, a little bit. But then it's got like the visceral action of Raiders, but then it's got a far more heartfelt story with Indy and his dad, which this one doesn't have. As much as I like in Indy and Marion, and I don't know if it's just the fact that because it's really not until, in reality, the very last film in 2020 bloody 3, before they do anything with that, it kind of leaves me just sort of like, eh.
Yeah.
But also because Indy isn't really a character that settles down. And you see that a lot in this film. I mean, even when you see his house, it's just awash with just random things all over the place. Like, he just
Oh, yeah.
sits
Just
down.
every like artifact, every book you've ever seen, everything is everywhere. It's chaos.
It is, really. I mean, even that sequence in his house when he's talking to Marcus, played by Denham Elliott, really, really well. I think he's great, although he's better in Last Crusade because he actually gets things to do. But even that scene when they're just talking in the house is great. I mean, in terms of like favourite moments, I mean,
Oof,
virtually every single scene.
Well, I
really.
mean, I've more or less went with the iconic ones, really. But
Such
I
as-
think even
such as
just
the
the
giant
intro
pebble.
with the giant circular pebble in the temple with Sapido biting the bullet in a very graphic way, which I love.
Yeah, that's Alfred Molina's very first film role.
It's just so surprising when
Doc
you watch that
Ock.
for the first time, when all of a sudden it just cuts to him and he's just been impaled by like 70 spikes, and he's just like,
And lots of blood. Yes.
oh, it's And I love how it's just how the boulder and then Indiana Jones have just become a meme as well.
Yeah, they kind of have.
The Well of Souls, I think, is probably my second favorite as well. I think that is just a brilliant scene, especially when they devise a plan to get out, and then they basically use a giant Anubis statue to basically smash down half of a wall and just run out of it.
And then you've got The Mummy Returns, which basically rips that off.
Yeah. Which
is fine. I don't mind that.
Definitely the plane sequence as mentioned. I think that is just very well done. I find it quite funny, the fact that, like, you've got all these weapons around this airstrip, and you've just got one guy who just wants to have a fist fight with him. It's like you could literally just shoot him, but no, you have to be an ass and just, come here, I want to fight. Fisticuffs right here, right now. Ugh. I mean, obviously the last scene as well, that is just probably my favourite scene throughout the entire film.
Yeah,
it's,
I would probably say so.
So melty.
I mean, it is just really, really dark, and I love that. Like, it doesn't hold back at all. And one of the things I also like is the fact that also means that Indy never actually sees it, like, at all. He just shuts his eyes and then opens up again, and then all the Nazis are gone entirely.
Yeah, it's just like a puddle of goop on the floor where Blub and Toad once stood.
But it just continues the tradition of really I'm pretty sure all the villains in this series always die from trying to get what they want. Every single one does. Except for Mads Mikkelsen, the actor, when he gets shot down by some Greeks. Because they thought his airplane was a dragon. I said we weren't going to talk about that one.
I know.
It just keeps on coming back. Much like this godforsaken franchise. Just keeps on coming back.
I think when Belloc and his cronies get what they want, it's just get what they deserve. It's so satisfying to see. So I'm thinking, try steal the treasure now when the treasure has come and bit you right on the ass end, hasn't it?
I think the truck chase sequence as well, I think, is brilliant. Like, it's
it's the cinematography behind that is just absolutely astonishing.
I think, like, every single action sequence that there is always feels like the best version that it could possibly be. Especially stunts as well. Like, people are getting thrown left, right, and bloody centre. Like, some of them are getting thrown into trees. Some of them are getting thrown into planes. Not really, obviously. It's a shame. Method actors. God.
The stunt work is something else in these films. It's always something of, like, with the action sequences. It just feels like the best it can possibly be. They're not trying to make it tame by any means necessary. They want it to be exciting.
And then,
I even chuckle at the scene where bloody Marion gets kidnapped in Cairo and she's just in a basket and she's screaming, Indy!
I was watching that a couple of nights ago and I wanted to know, this has turned into an episode of Scooby-Doo. And that's not me trashing it. That's me actually.
This basket over their heads toward a truck.
I still want to know.
With the Cairo swordsman, when he's trying to just navigate to find Marion, he's just like tossing the sword between his arms. He just pulls out his pistol and shoots him. Like, you absolutely dirty cheater.
Do you actually know the history of why he just shoots him?
No, I'm just assuming it was just I'm in a rush here, dude.
Yeah. So they did actually have an entire sequence planned with him actually dueling with the swordsman. On that particular day, though, virtually everyone, including one Harrison Ford, got extreme food poisoning. Like, they were really, really ill. So when it got to that bit, I think they'd done like a few takes, and he was like, "Can I please just shoot him instead?" And like Steven's like, "Yes, that is a far better idea." And the poor dude playing the swordsman got so annoyed because, like, I've been training for 3 months for this. We're gonna have an entire fight, and now we're not.
Yeah, because when you see the close up of him, he's doing like all these swanky sword tricks, and you're just like, "Wow, you just showed up for no reason other than to get a bullet."
I mean, truthfully, him just getting shot is far better. It absolutely works so much better. But
yeah, it does.
At the same time, though, if you want to just fight him properly, you can just play the Lego version instead. Pretty certain you
Yeah,
can
you
punch them
could.
constantly. I mean, in terms of other things, I don't know. I actually really love even like the last shot of them putting the Ark away in what is revealed later on to be Area 51 of all places. Like, first of all, credit to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That's a fantastic idea. Retroactively confirming that entire room full of boxes and artifacts is Area 51. I'm like, that's a really cool idea.
The last time I watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I think when you just get that bit with the warehouse and there's a very quick glimpse to the Ark, I think that's a nice little...
That wasn't quick. They literally just took the camera, dropped it in front and just bloody left it there. It's like, hey, look, it's a thing from the first film.
It's the Ark! You remember the Ark? Oh, I remember the Ark very well.
I mean, the Ark is such a cool design as well. Like, it's funny how I don't think I've ever seen any other big movie ever try and do anything to do with the Ark of the Covenant, because it's gonna look crap in comparison.
Yeah. I love, like, every time there's a close-up of it, it doesn't, like, reveal its powers straight away. It's just like, oh, it's a very strange artifact. But we're going to leave it as a strange artifact for now.
Yeah.
Until they decide to open it.
And obviously, every time you see the Ark, it's always the same theme tune, because, of course, it's John Williams.
Oh, it's just brilliant.
Who is, John Williams rocked up and did his job. Funnily enough, it's actually brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
Even just listening to the score, I think it was yesterday, actually, when I was listening to it. It's so good. It's such a great score.
It really is.
And even just the theme for the Ark is just really spooky, to be honest. I really like it.
Yeah, I'd say spooky is the correct word.
Yeah, spooky is definitely the correct word.
I love the scene where you have Indy just sick of everybody's BS, and he's just stood on top of a cliff edge with a frickin' RPG. He's like, I'm gonna blow it up.
What's the thing? Because I think as well, what that really reveals about Indiana Jones
Belloc
as a
just
character
gets in his head. He's like, you know you're not gonna do it.
Well, yeah, because in reality, he wants to stop the Nazis. He also wants the Ark for himself, because he does. He's like his reasoning for doing it is very selfish, much like Belloc, which I really like that they are just two sides of the same coin. So that does actually
they
work really
absolutely
well.
are.
It just confirms that Indiana Jones is not really a hero. He's just a bit of a scumbag.
A scumbag with morals. Some morals.
He has a gun and a whip. There is no such thing as morals with him.
No, there really isn't, to be honest.
No, there's not. But yeah, as I say, I mean, this one's such a good film. That being said, obviously, we've seen numerous sequels over the years. And we've always joked on about how, maybe Dial of Destiny was... There we go. In Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones was created in a computer. What if you just created the entire film? I'm, of course, talking about our little segment that we do, which is, where's the bloody screenwriter? So yeah, I basically task a little bit of AI software with, write me a silly Indiana Jones story. Because heaven forbid it be serious. It would just be stupid. Or bad. This one is obviously still bad, it's just stupid. I'd imagine it more like an animated cartoon that's about 20 minutes long. Be fine with that. So this is Indiana Jones and the Quest for the Cosmic Natural.
In the Quest for the Cosmic Natural.
Obviously, we've got aliens again.
Great.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Indy, now a professor of archaeology with a penchant for snacks. He's already a professor, so,
Mm-hmm.
Stumbles upon an ancient prophecy that foretells the existence of the ultimate snack. The Cosmic Natural. Hence the title. Dan.
Mm-hmm.
It's going redder and redder. Teaming up with his quirky sidekick, Natural Nelly. Suddenly turn... feels more like a Bond thing, if I'm honest, as opposed to Indiana Jones.
It sounds like a freaking Bond villain than anything else.
Mm-hmm. And his trusty pet monkey, Cheesemeister. Indy embarks on a ludicrous adventure spanning cheesy caverns, guacamole-filled labyrinths, and salsa-drenched temples.
Guacamole-filled caverns! Why can I just envision him, like, doing silly jumps through, like, Swiss cheese, like giant blocks of Swiss cheese, just like diving through the holes to get to the other end of a guacamole-filled cavern.
Along the way, they encounter a rival snack enthusiast, the nefarious Pretzel Prince, who is determined to get his salty hands on the cosmic natural first.
I don't want to know why they're salty, but hey-ho.
Because he's been testing out other naturals, probably, Dan? What on earth else could it be?
I was thinking of something much worse, in honesty.
Yeah, I know you were. I was trying to deflect.
Unlike his salty hands.
You know, I was about to say this sounds more like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, but now you kind of ruined it. Haven't even finished it yet. That's only the second paragraph.
Ruined from the moment you decided to create this freaking monstrosity.
It wasn't me.
It was AI.
It was. The quest is peppered with comical mishaps, from Indy's acrobatic escapes involving giant tortilla chips, to Natural Nellie's knack for accidentally activating ancient booby traps with her natural loving enthusiasm.
Why can't I just envision, like, freaking, like, ancient traps just being, like, crisp-related? Like, there's just, like, giant tortilla spikes.
This entire film is going to be so expensive because they're going to have to be sponsored by Walkers.
Nelly, look out for the Dorito spikes.
Or Doritos. That works out better. Cheese Meister the monkey proves to be the secret weapon, mastering the art of swinging from chandeliers and outsmarting pretzel-shaped adversaries. Again, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs here.
Pretzel-shaped adversaries, right.
Just twisting it around.
Their maneuverability must be extremely limited.
I'm picturing that as well, yeah.
Yeah.
In a climactic showdown at the heart of the snack shrine, Indy, armed with a giant guacamole spoon...
Well, we've already got a subplot. Where the feck did he get the spoon from?
Just had it the entire time. Just like, forget the whip and the gun, he just has a spoon.
God, okay.
So he faces off against the Pretzel Prince in a cheesy duel for the cosmic natural. The natural is finally secured, and as Indy takes a triumphant bite, the entire snack sanctuary collapses in a spectacular cheesy explosion. If it collapses, it's not really an explosion. It just
So it
drops.
basically does what Last Crusade does. As soon as you freaking have the juicy water, it just decides to just, oh yeah,
The juicy
collapse.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
film
hydrating water.
Yeah. The film ends with Indy sharing the cosmic natural with his friends. Didn't realise he had friends. And they celebrate their victory with a snack-filled feast. Indy reflects on the absurdity of his adventures, declaring, sometimes, the quest for snacks is the greatest adventure of all. Finn.
Right, well, first of all,
You
it must
have
be
questions.
some big natural if he's able to share it with his so-called friends.
Haven't you seen any of the Fast and Furious films? It's just like a massive table outside. It's just full of food all the time.
Jesus, my brain cells are just in
That's a bit of a
crisis right
crossover.
now.
They're in crisis. To think you're going to have to listen to two more of
They
these
just
over the
don't
next
know
couple
how
of
to
weeks.
process this right now.
No, I think like of the three prompts that we've done so far this year, I still feel like the Dark Knight one was probably the funnier one. Because that's how we're ranking these, obviously, just on funniness as opposed to anything else.
Like, I can just imagine just freaking tortilla chip related traps and things, and just sounds absolutely terrible.
Mm.
And pretzel enemies, how?
Yeah, why pretzels? I don't get it.
Like, their maneuverability is going to be absolutely...
Useless.
It's just not gonna... Yeah, they're just useless. How are they gonna guard a snack when them themselves are snacks?
Yeah. Then again, we do have our final segment before we wrap things up. Obviously, if we're talking about a horror film, it's how to survive a horror film. We've proven that with Godzilla. Can't do it.
Yeah, because, yeah...
Yep.
it's just not possible.
Yeah, the other one that we do is, what would you do? That being, what would me or Dan do if we were handed the responsibilities of the lead character of a film. So in this case, what would we do if we were Indiana Jones and tasked with dealing with the Nazis trying to uncover the Ark of the Covenant? I already have an idea.
Well, it's going to be a very short film because I'm probably going to be squished by the boulder because I am just far too clumsy to be doing that kind of stunt work.
Well, to be honest,
I'm going to end up tripping over dead roots and just getting flattened.
I mean, both your theory and mine is pretty similar in the sense that what I would do is actually quite similar to what we did when we talked about Godzilla -1. And in that one, I just ran away. Or emigrated to a different planet, depending on which movie it is. In this case, if I'm told, oh yeah, the Nazis are looking for the Ark, the Covenant, I leave them to it. Just leave them to it. And it's a pretty easy reason as to why, when you think about it.
Well, I mean, truthfully, even if you left them to it, they're still going to uncover it, and then it's just going to, unleash the Ark's power, and they're all going to die anyway, so it kind of seems like...
Yeah, so realistically, you want them to find us, you want them to take it back to Germany, and then kill all the Nazis with it. They're done. Easy peasy. I'm an absolute hero. I'm an absolute hero because I said, no, I'm good, thank you. Although I suppose that could be said for every single one of these movies. Well, maybe except for the Temple of Doom. That one doesn't really work. Figure that one out next week. But yeah, I would just ignore it.
I think I'd stick my nose in it just to kind of find out.
Yep, that smells like death.
That's some good treasure
death
right
and
there.
stone.
I think I'd just kind of hang back and just say, "Oh, are we transporting it to the Holy Ground yet?" No, okay then.
It's like, oh no, they're digging in the wrong bits. Maybe I'll push them over to the other side. Nah, I'll be fine. They could just dig up the entire desert.
No, you could have a vacation by the time they freaking found it.
Yeah, to be honest, they would. Because, the Nazis in this are absolutely ridiculously stupid. Stupid.
They really are.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, if it got to a stage where I knew that I had to obviously go and stop them, I think I would just be even more of a dick to Belloc than I already am in the film. Oh, you want this shiny gold object that I just risked my life for in a temple? I would just say, oh, there's something over there, and then just quickly, run in the other direction with it.
Yeah, all of a sudden, I'm just, remembering that sequence at the beginning when, he runs from all, the natives. And, the music is so, upbeat for what's actually happening. It's
really
so
is.
weird.
I mean, the only other option to really secure the Ark would be during that truck chase where you basically just ram them off the road, but I wasn't sure that it was near a cliff, so they just kind of go from a Looney Tunes cartoon. I'm kind of picturing an Indiana Jones version of the Roadrunner and the Coyote.
The Coyote?
And the Coyote.
There we go.
You never seen that?
What the hell? Yes, yeah, I know.
I was going to say...
I'm more baffled at you calling it a coyote. I'm like, what the hell's that got to do with it?
Coyote, yes. Okay, I don't English, okay?
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
Anyway, yeah, that has been us talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark in rambly AI stuffy form. Great stuff as ever. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening. We do hope you enjoyed us. And as said before, next week we will be delving into the Temple of Doom. The better one. Or is Dan... unless Dan rewatches all three of these within the next week, and then suddenly says,
don't worry.
Oh, you will? Oh, okay, that's alright then. I just figured you would have done before this. Hello.
I apologise.
Unbelievable. You make us watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a cinema, and it's Netflix sequel.
I did not, so you can just wind your neck in right there now.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. But yes, we'll be back next week with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, so we'll see you then. And until then, it's goodbye from Dan.
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra. And it's goodbye from me. Ta-ra.